We'll always kick off with talking about our core values and respect. People will not remember what you say or what you said, but they will remember how you made them feel. And this is the underlying power of respect or disrespect in some ways. You don't have to necessarily say something to offend someone or say something to make someone feel good. It's how you react. It's how you look at them. It's how you respond to them, how quickly you respond to them when they ask you a question, and you get back to them in a manner that shows that you care about their feelings. So what are some things you can do or are doing to make people feel good about themselves?
One thing, this Larry, that you can do is compliment them on their dress, their appearance, maybe on some projects that they've done real good on or been very successful with.
Yeah. And thank you, Larry. And that's a great way. Just when you make a comment about someone, very even more specific, the better. So I really like your socks, or I really like, it's a nice necklace or something very specific. It makes people very proud. Oftentimes seeing people kind of look at themselves several times throughout the day after that because they feel proud. And so that's a great way of making people feel good about themselves, which is a tremendous sign of respect. Our next core value, of course, is reliable. It's also a skill that, like many others, is something that you have to desire. And so it's really hard to be reliable if you're disorganized, if you don't keep track of the things you say you're going to do. You make a promise to someone, yeah, I'll take care of that, but you don't write it down, or you write it down on a Post-it note and stick it to the wall with 600 other Post-it notes, there's a really good chance it's not going to happen. So to be reliable, you must be organized. So give me some ideas or tips. How do you stay organized?
Send yourself a invite to complete that task. Use your calendar.
That's a great idea, Annette. Use your calendar to set reminders for yourself. If you guys have ever peeked at my calendar, it's loaded with reminders and meetings and setting up. I even schedule my workouts. I schedule anything, family events. They're just as important as a work event. I don't want to be late or miss something. So use the calendar to help yourself be organized. Heather, you were going to say something.
Make lists. I'm a list maker.
Yeah, I love lists too. I love electronic lists. I love electronic lists because you can sort it and prioritize it and put dates to it and move it around. The problem with written down lists is that if you write 25 things down a list, how do you know that the 23rd one isn't the most important thing? How are you going to find it? How's it going to stand out? So, and then being able to review that list, which is I spend a lot of time doing each day. I read something the other day and it said that the idea of going out and just go and with no plan, no idea why, and you're not going to accomplish a lot. But to take time, 5-10 minutes, close the door, flip the phone upside down, and just study your day, study your tasks, study what the things you got to do, and just make sure you're working on the highest priority or the biggest impact thing or the thing that is going to help you or help the company in the greatest way. Make sure you're putting your focus on the right things. I could go out today right now and go sweep our gravel parking lot for 8 hours. I could be very busy, very active, very busy, come in sweating and dirty and tell everybody how hard I worked, but I accomplished nothing. And so it's really important to make sure we're working on the right things, and organization is the key to that. Go ahead, Brandon.
I was going to say make lists as well. I personally have a notepad on my desk that I just write down what I need to get done throughout the day. And once that sheet fills up and it's all checked off, I just tear it off and go to the next sheet. It's just, I think I like to have a physical copy in front of me so that I can constantly look at it and not forget about the tasks that need to be done.
That's good. And it works to everybody's different, right? So if that's what works for Brandon, keep doing it, Brandon. If you're successful with that, then great. You've found the method. And there is no one right method. So each of us have our own preferences. That's good. And thanks for offering that. Our next one is to be responsive. And this is interesting. In order to be responsive, you have to care. And so if you don't care, then you're not going to be responsive. Well, I don't care what they think, so why would I respond to this? So, and you have to, what I mean by care is you have to care about the individual who you're responding to, because it's very easy to think, well, this doesn't affect me or impact me in any way that I care about, so I'm not going to do anything about it. Whereas it has a tremendous impact on the individual who is asked. So being responsive shows you care. And so in that same vein, how can you tell if someone cares? Flip it over. How do you know if someone cares? Other than don't anybody say be responsive. How can you tell if someone cares?
They show intent.
And what do you mean by intent?
Intent on responding, not to stay responsive, but In being present in whatever's going on. So if you say that you're going to help them out with something, you're there helping them out and you're showing good intentions to help however you can. You're showing up essentially.
Good. Yep.
You just feel it, your gut feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. You kind of know if someone cares by your gut, and that's very true. And as we get older, I think it tends to yell at us a little louder. So we get that feeling. Go ahead, Brendan.
The questions they ask.
Oh, that's good.
You know, do they care about you personally? Do they care about everything else going on, or are they just short, curt questions?
Yeah, that's a really good point. And by the questions they ask, and that's a great way to stay engaged in a conversation is to ask questions, dig deeper, especially when you're talking to your spouse or to a customer. Ask questions. We took a customer out to lunch yesterday, and the customer did 90% of the talking, which is great. That's what we want. We want them talking. We want them to tell us their stories, tell us what they think, tell us how they feel. You can learn so much from that, as opposed to sitting there the whole time and us telling our stories. So it's a great way to show that you're engaged, show that you care. Okay. And finally, resourceful. I got one word for you. Think. Being resourceful is finding a way to get things done. Take time to think. We've got all this talent around us. We've got so many people. But at the same time, in the same vein, if someone tells you to do something that you know is not right or doesn't make sense, and Jake brought this up the other day, don't just run full speed ahead and do it. And then say, well, I did it because they told me to, even though I knew that it didn't make sense or it wasn't the right answer. There was a better answer. I just chose not to use it. We want you thinking. We're hiring you to bring talent to the team. You're not here just to be a robot and to do exactly what you're told. We want you to go out there and think. You have a tremendous amount of intelligence and experience. Find ways to get things done the best way possible. We as a company need to make money. We need to be profitable. And being resourceful means finding the best way to get things done. So we want to keep thinking. That's the simplest way I can put it out there for you. Think. Building to Improve Lives will continue to do this. And building to improve lives, you can be taken that, well, our whole goal is just to help others. Well, it is. And we can only help others if we have a successful business. So to give things away, and we're going to talk about that in our change order exercise, but to give everything away isn't going to help us. We need to be a successful company. We need to be successful people who work here so that we can help others. That's the only way we can continue on with our purpose, is to make money, use that profit to give out increases, give out bonuses, all these great things we want to do because we are successful in our purpose, and that is building to improve lives. Our objectives is to create opportunities. I think 2024 is going to be a tremendous year, and it's led by this group right here. Here on this call is primarily most of our project managers, people who are responsible for managing the work that comes through the door. So we're going to help us create those opportunities, creating great experiences. This is the one thing we can control. We want to make sure our customers have a great experience. We had a situation yesterday where one of our crews didn't make it out to the job, and the customer was there waiting for them. And they didn't tell the customer they were going to be late. That's a tremendous sign of disrespect. It's a terrible customer experience. There's so many things that went wrong with that moment. And we can't allow those things to happen. We've got to stay on top of that. We've got to make sure our team knows it's okay. If it's not okay to be late, but if you're going to be late, you've got to let people know before you're late. You don't tell someone at 9:30 you're not going to make it there at 9. You got to let them know well in advance so that at least they know what to expect. Provide unique experiences for our customers. And so as we continue down this path, we had another customer reach out and ask for help on something that nobody else wants to touch. That's the ones we want. We want to go find ways to make that happen and get that done. That's going to be the thing that helps us stand out. That's going to make us sustainable for years to come. Our vision, $100 million. We're going to get there. It's going to take some time, but we're going to get there. $100 million in revenue. We're going to do that by providing quality installations, by providing those tremendous solutions, especially for challenging projects, and also by building strong relationships. We want to have 500 people working with us. I think it's a great opportunity to extend and increase our purpose. So we want to add a lot of people. And so we're building that foundation right now with some tremendous people that can help us get there. And then 5 locations or services, because we feel like we want to spread out a little bit. We can't do all this in one area doing one type of service. Professional expectations or language, think before you speak. So let's use good words. They matter. We talked about earlier respect, making people feel comfortable. Comes down to our language. I mentioned about being on time, especially if you're facilitating a meeting. Be early, be prepared. Disrespect or disrupt, allow people to finish their thoughts without cutting them off. And this can be challenging for some of you because you're very intelligent. You kind of already know what they want to say, so you just want to jump in and cut them off while they're talking. Stop doing that. Not very respectful. And then greeting. How we greet people sets the tone for the conversation, the relationship. I had on here before, call them by name. That's a great way to send a nice greeting to someone. Using their name. That's very powerful. Use it as often as you can. Our appearance, our trucks, our clothing, our office, they all reflect our company. Make sure they reflect us well. Walking around Electric 2 weeks ago, trash everywhere. Now, I can't be the only one that's seeing this. There has to be other people that are seeing this same trash laying on the ground. And it started with one piece and turned into 2 pieces and turned into 10 pieces. We've got to make sure we take the time to focus on all the little things that are going to make us unique. Our attitude about SCG is going to play a large part in our success. It's also the attitude about your own life. If you talk a lot of, just pay note to this. Do you find yourself saying a lot of negative things? I see when you go to, like, for example, go to a store like Walmart and you can go buy t-shirts. And the t-shirts, it's amazing how many t-shirts send out a negative signal. Like all these things like, oh, I hate Mondays, or, I can't, don't talk to me, or, I don't want to be, leave me alone. And we're wearing these on our shirts. And I think it starts to, almost through osmosis, becomes part of who we are. So avoid those negative, everyone wants to joke around about how terrible things are and it's sick season, all those things. Get rid of those in your conversation and you'll be amazed at how things start to shift in your life. Behavior, remain calm and professional when dealing with all situations. Never yell or scream. We don't need that here. Oftentimes you'll find people that yell or scream are not really saying anything too intelligent. So they use the volume to try to reinforce what they're saying or take over the conversation in spite of their 4 points of content. And then gossip. I like this one, spread positive gossip. It's every day someone is coming and telling me that about something good somebody else is doing. I love to let that other person know that somebody is telling them good things. I think it's really cool when people are saying something good about you behind your back. That really shows they think highly of you. So let's all spread some positive gossip. That's what the grit concept was built around, spreading positive gossip. All right, so we're going to get into a change order. Now, this is important. Now, I call it a change order, but it's really quoting an invoice. I don't really care if you understand how electrical change orders work or how electrical takeoffs are done. There are some people on here that do them a lot. There are some people that have never done one. That's okay. The goal here is not necessarily to see how well you understand a material takeoff. What I really want to understand is, were you paying attention in the last several BOCs to all the things, the 10 considerations you need to take into account when you're quoting a change order? And so what we're going to do is we're going to go through this process and we're going to allow everyone to do this takeoff. And so you're going to take about 15 minutes. And then when the timer goes up, we're going to review the highest priced change order. Okay, so a lot of directions here. I hope you're all paying attention. You're not answering emails as I'm talking, because I'll know who you are when we don't do any of these things I just mentioned. So what I'm looking for now is to help you understand what we're looking at. If you have any questions, throw them out now, but I'm going to talk you through this. So what we have here is a metal stud room that got added on to an office. It's a wide open construction zone, so there's nothing stopping us from doing our work. You don't have to include anything of that nature. You can see here 10 foot to the bottom of the joist. The panel is 80 feet away. And we're going to run one circuit back to this room, and those are outlets. You see those little things, those little funny looking things? Those are plugs in the wall, or as we call them, holes in the wall. You can call them a lot of different things, but they're devices or outlets, plugs. So, and then it's all controlled through a switch. That little light switch over there looks like a dollar symbol. That represents a light switch. So what happens is we're going to run conduit and wire all the way around the room, connect all these together, and then we're going to run them out to a panel that's 80 feet away and connect them to an existing panel. So for notes, if you want to use, you can use 180 feet of conduit. You can use 18 couplings. You can use, basically you'll need 3 wires. So you'll need a ground, a neutral, and a hot. So you can multiply 3 times the footage of conduit. You'll need some things to mount it in the ceiling. So you might want to put a few beam clamps in there. Imagine conduit comes in 10-foot sticks. So you'll want to put a beam clamp maybe every 10 foot. You want to put boxes. There's going to be boxes behind the wall. So you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes at a minimum running around. Anything else on there you think you recognize or see? You obviously want to buy one. This represents a quad. So it means there's 2 double duplex receptacles. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4 receptacles. You're going to have 1 switch, and then you're going to have some switch plates. So I'm throwing a lot out at you. Don't get hung up on the material. I want you to focus on taking those 10 considerations we had in our last session and applying them to the totals tab. So first things, just right out of the gate, Heather's was the highest, but Heather's was high because she made some mistakes on her takeoff. So we'll address some of those. But the next highest was, and Heather came in, just so you guys know, this is really important. This is the whole point of the exercise, by the way. Heather came in with a quote, and let's just say this was her sending it over to the customer, $83.90, $8,390. But she did have some mistakes on the quote, so I won't talk about those for now. Jake came over the next highest at 7,804. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to pull up Jake's, and we're going to review Jake's to see how he did that. The point of this is, and by the way, the lowest change order submitted. Anybody want to guess that didn't submit it?
1,500.
Close, 2,000. So we had a price at 2,000, and then we had what we're about to look at now at Jake's at almost 8,000. And that's the whole point of this exercise, is that we had everybody looking at the same thing. Now, I know all of you have varying degrees of understanding, so I'm taking that with a grain of salt. But there's still a lot of people in this call that do understand a change order. So what you're looking at now is this is Jake's takeoff. He put 3 connectors, 10 couplings, some straps, beam clamps, boxes, more box. And once you make the pull, there's a good chance the rest of that gets scrapped. So a lot of times you will charge them for the full amount for the wire. But look what he did here. He actually lowered the labor to justify the increase in material. So the customer says, well, I'm not, don't labor out the whole 500-foot spool. So he actually decreased the labor, which was good foresight. A full spool of MC cable. So once again, once you start cutting into that cable, it's no longer going to be any good. It'll probably get scrapped or thrown away. There's a good chance it will be. Some terminations at the breaker, and picked up the receptacle, some plaster rings, bag of wire nuts. There's a truck driver coming out, and so he put some money in for fuel. He put some money for the actual use of the truck. So by doing that, he came up with $1,000 in material, 20 hours in labor. You bring that over to here. Now here's one thing that got a little bit of a mistake, but it's not a mistake. It shows 100% foreman, 100% journeyman. So he's actually taken the 20 hours and doubled it. Why'd you do that, Jake?
Because the scope says that somebody has to be there to supervise.
So the scope says that all work must be supervised by a customer approved electrician. So we had somebody do the work that wasn't approved. So we had to have someone that was supervised doing the work. On top of that, he changed the rates. Why'd you change the rates?
It was all after hours.
Okay, so he also noted that all work must be done after hours. So he took the rates and multiplied them by 1.5, so time and a half. And then he put time in for the project manager. He put time in for the estimator. He put 0.3, which represents the amount of time you were given to quote this. Very accurate. Safety inspector for an hour, because safety guys to come out and do the JHA. The truck driver for 2 hours of that person's time, and then accounts receivable, because it even mentions that this must be invoiced separately, which means
Audio's gone.
guys.
Audio's gone, Chris.
Okay, what did he miss? Do you guys see anything he missed?
Chris, can you hear me right now?
I can
'Cause
hear
your
you.
Audio's going in and out. Okay. Because we usually just get to charge 10%, I didn't have the 10% overhead and the 10% profit, because we've already put in for a lot of the people, PM, estimator, safety, truck driver, and we typically just get 10% on a change order. But I did add in 1% in the overhead line and called it warranty. And then in the box where you're sitting in 23, I put on bond and put another 1% on there for that.
Yep.
I didn't do my labor rate like Chris did, or like Jake did. I just put my foreman in as 150% to account for that. But then I added 15% non-productive labor and 8% DJE. So even detailing out the most amount of, even when you're trying to take the time to put every little wire nut and screw down, I still usually put 8% DJE, direct job expenses, on top of that when I calculate.
Where do you put that?
I went in there and in the material line, so I put it in row 3 so that it was added into the total material.
Up here?
No, on the totals page.
Oh, up here?
Yeah, that's where I put it on my file.
Okay, and you put a percentage there?
Yeah, I typically use 8% all the time, unless it's something that's really challenging looking.
Kurt, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you have been going in and out.
Yeah.
I usually use 8, but I think I've put up to 20 on projects when it looks like it's going to be a very challenging project, or it looks like we might be there for a while and need, just extras.
In. And this is really important for everyone to hear this, because this is the difference between us being profitable at a good level and barely profitable, is how we address these opportunities. This is an opportunity to capture all the things it takes to make this thing happen. We're not asking, I'm not saying go out there and take advantage of the situation. All I'm saying is capture the things it really takes to make these change orders happen. And so in doing that, if I went to every single one of you, even though we have prices ranging from 2,000, so to do some quick numbers, and I mentioned this the last time, if our company is doing 30 million a year, so let's just look at that. And then if we were able to, most of our 40% is coming from, oh, it's terrible. I'm using the Jabra. Thanks to Heather. She brought me down to Jabra. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yep.
got you now.
Yeah, if anybody's looking for a Christmas gift for me, I think we have a pretty good idea now. So I apologize for the bad audio. That very frustrating. And to make matters worse, I have to plug into my USB port, which means I can't use my mouse.
You can just keep that one, Chris. We'll get another one.
Merry
Anyway,
Christmas.
point is,
It's still happening.
And Chris also needs a little USB
it's
extender.
done.
Yeah, I think it's a
Other
USB
ports.
too.
You guys can't hear me?
It's cutting out. I think it's a USB
In and out.
also.
Okay, more to come. Can you hear that? More to come.
You hear?
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Okay,
Chris.
take it easy. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Chris.